Welcome to COMPOSERSCAPE. This is episode 20. We ended up taking another week off because of the lawn mowing. Again, the lawn mowing.
Weather.
But that gave us a chance to watch 2 whole episodes of Loki, which has been really great. It's pretty different. This has got more of a, I feel like we're back to the more outrageous WandaVision vibe that, and I'm always more on that side of things myself.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Falcon and Winter Soldier. It was great fun, but it's very grounded.
Yeah, well, the setting, right? You get very Earth, U.S. military, right? Kind of this hangover plot threads from Cold War, and just it's much more of a, you know, you're not talking about aliens and cosmic powers and magic and.
Although they did mention the wizards and robots,
well, sure,
in the second episode,
right? Well, I don't know where to start. Mention just
the spoiler warning.
Well, sure.
This is a spoiler heavy episode.
Yep. If you haven't seen
Loki yet,
yep. Stop the tape.
Pause the episode. Don't stop it. Like literally pause it on your computer, go into the other room and put it on your television. You got to watch it on a big screen. Well, so yeah, let's get into this. Thoughts?
Oh, I got all kinds of thoughts. And some of this, do want to get into some of the more specific tinfoil hat predictions, things about characters, some Easter eggs and things like that. I think we should maybe start general. Let's start wide and then go into more narrow, specific things. Just the vibe of the whole thing. I have several thoughts on this. I think visually and the costumes, the sets, the technology that you see in this TVA, the time variance authority, the whole thing. Really applaud the folks that produced the whole package. Works really well, despite some really disparate elements. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Because I want to hear what it reminds you of.
The vibe of the tech reminded me of a bit of like Tim Burton's 89 Batman, where it's like, what time period is that Batman movie occurring in? Because some of the things looked very old, like the phones and everything, and but it had that vibe. It had the big like old fashioned tube screens,
right?
And, but then it's also very high tech. It had I loved the collar, the time collar thing was
the leash,
pretty hilarious,
right? So what I love about this is it's a time travel theme here, and you've got an agency specifically focused on Earth. Well, I'll come back to that, right? If you've got a time variance authority that's looking at timelines, presumably in a universe filled with sentient beings, why are we we're just looking at Earth here? We'll come back to that. So you got a time travel theme. You've got an agency filled with beings who pop in and out of different eras and epochs, and we can assume have access to some fantastic technology that I know we've used this quote in previous episodes. It looks like magic, right? It's so sufficiently advanced that you just can't even wrap your head around it, right? And so you get this really neat mixture of things that, to us anyway, living in the 21st century United States, right, old tube monitors and reel-to-reel tape and sort of push-button consoles. And a lot of this is showcased in the closing credits. A lot of people probably don't sit all the way through the closing credits, but the closing credits of these shows have been awesome, right? Just all of the artwork and photography and stuff that goes into that. But if you watch it, you see all these old kind of switch panels and very analog looking. That's the word I'm hunting for. a lot of
Yes.
analog technology that appears to somehow be seamlessly paired with databases and sort of reading time streams and all this stuff. To me, and this is what I thought you were going to say, it evokes a lot of imagery, the same kind of thing you get from Doctor Who.
Oh, well, yeah.
Right? Where you get this interface of some kind of fantastic technology, but the interface itself is very analog. It's like transistors and magnetic tape and just, the stuff that we would consider kind of low tech. And the combination of that, and here's I think the linchpin. In addition to this idea of Agent Mobius being a sort of spook, right, for this very kind of 60s or 1950s and early 60s version of like a CIA, right, sort of a government intelligence agent. He's this agent, right, some sort of detective or some kind of, troubleshooter, right, for this agency. So you get this real kind of Cold War era, 50s, 60s kind of vibe of, with the kind of narrow tie and everybody looks the same, and you've got sort of the cops and the detectives and this big agency, and the tech really goes along with that, despite the fact that in his initial interrogation, he's taken into a room where he's got this little bitty miniature what looks like a little reel-to-reel tape, but it's projecting holograms.
Well, yeah.
Right, across the wall and these kind of, immersive images and stuff. So I think that's
the production design's really good.
Really enjoying that.
And we can get into theories too, but there's a couple things like I really like, just like that really have little to do with the actual plot. One, Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston work really well together, as we expected from the thing, the trailers and such. I do want to point out something really nice in our continuing series of people who have been in multiple superhero universes. Hunter B-15, played by Wunmi Musako, which I probably just butchered her name. She was the one who caught Loki and pretty much beat him up. She was in Batman v Superman, even more in Batman v Superman. She is the one that was forced or did the fake testimony in front of Congress about the village that Superman rescued Lois from, and that later got pushed in front of the train. So she has crossed over from DC to Marvel, and she's really excellent. It's nice to see her get some more parts. She did in an interview mention that she thought and I guess it was part of the press tour because they had to ask her about that because that's another superhero movie. She mentioned that in Batman v Superman, she thought she was just going to go in, film her scene, and then leave, and they ended up working on it all day. So, like as much time as was needed. So, yeah. And then the interesting thing, that's it's like in the first episode, they set up this thing where it was pretty much laying out, what these time cops are, the TVA, which every time I hear being from Tennessee, all I can think of is Tennessee Valley Authority.
Yeah, right.
But and they kind of hint that the villain, but then it's the big reveal later is that it's Loki. So we're all expecting Tom Hiddleston.
Right. So far, so good.
Yeah. And then we get the other big reveal when they reveal that Loki looks a little different.
Yeah.
The bad Loki.
Right. He's missing a Y chromosome. Well,
of course, it should be noted that.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, it should be noted that if you were to freeze frame Loki's file, he is gender fluid. His gender is listed as fluid. So
right. Well,
so
I think part of that. That's right. And I think part of that. Well, fine. There's definitely precedent for that in the comics. And before we started rolling, I mentioned this for fans of the stories in the comics and know that the MCU borrows heavily from the comic storylines without being beholden to it. And I think it's possible we may get some version of that here. I could be completely wrong. It's just be completely like, twist. There's a twist. With that said, there's a precedent in the comics for Loki and a connection to a character that my first instinct when she pulled the hood back, and of course in the credits the character is listed as Variant. Right, we don't actually get a name. It's just listed as Variant. But my first instinct was that this isn't Loki at all, but rather a fairly well-known villain, often a antagonist in the Thor, Loki, Asgardian storylines, which is the Enchantress. And
not
after
the Enchantress of Suicide Squad.
Correct. Right. Yeah, obviously. This would obviously. And so the Enchantress is actually a character, and it seems like I knew this at first, but I had to go back and do a little homework, reading around on the Marvel Wiki, looking at the actual names of the multiple characters who have gone by that name. The original is, of course, an Asgardian named Amora, who, like I said, often just an antagonist, right? A villain in the comics. And visually, just the character itself, she's blonde. Historically, traditionally in the comics, she's depicted as a blonde woman. And right off the bat, I thought, okay, this isn't Loki at all. That's Enchantress, right? But then it's not listed as though, and we don't get her name. So still could be wrong, could be speculation.
Well, how would
go ahead.
she fool these time variant authority that seem to be all-knowing?
That's a great question.
Why
do they think she's Loki? And so this ties into what I just mentioned. This could be a huge stretch, right? This is kind of a tinfoil hat idea. I'm not committing to this, but I'll just throw this out there that I believe this is post Secret Wars in the comics. This was several years back, but Asgard does get destroyed, and the refugee Asgardians, they try to salvage what's left of their city, and they relocate to Earth. And to this day, I believe, in the Avengers and Thor, Loki, like this, what's going on currently in the comics, Asgard is this piece of Asgard, rather. It's this little portion of a city that's floating over Oklahoma. And during that period of time, many of the surviving Asgardians, I'm going to botch this probably, but if I'm not mistaken, their consciousness gets relocated, gets sort of downloaded into just several vanilla humans. And then Thor attempts to
humans
sort of, bring Asgard back, and with the use of some kind of artifact or magic or something, he like awakens, the surviving Asgardians. And as it turns out, Loki is hidden within a human woman, his consciousness. And if I'm not mistaken, he awakens before all of this happens. He becomes self-aware, and he's like, wait a minute, this isn't right. I'm apparently trapped in the body of this human woman. What's happening to me? And it's through the course of this, if I'm not mistaken, the character's name is Sylvie Lushton, right? And he escapes her body, becomes himself again, becomes Loki, but in doing so, this woman, human woman, Sylvie Lushton, is granted powers and becomes some version of Enchantress.
Well, now, see, that seems like a possibility, yeah.
Right, so is it possible the writers have figured out a way to
kind of weave pull that off in 6 episodes or whatever? But hey, so they did WandaVision in that amount of time.
And if this truly is a multiverse situation, right, where it's just dealing with the kind of comic book version of quantum mechanics, right? Let's just boil it down to its complete, the most simplified form. For every, fork in the road, you can go left or you can go right. And I'm just going to presume that we can inject a little bit of basic biology into immortal sort of magical beings like, the Asgardians and the Frost Giants, right? Presumably Loki was conceived and born, and maybe in some version of the multiverse, he turned out be a girl instead of guy, right?
Well, now that's the question I have, and it's really interesting when we bring up the multiverse. It seems like these timekeepers, which, by the way, remind me of the Monitor and the Anti-Monitor in the DC universe, and they kind of live outside of the multiverse.
That's right,
and they built it and destroy it and every other thing. But it seems like they're forcing these timekeepers are trying to force the multiverse to be all the multiverses to be the same.
That's right. Yeah, they're trying to maintain one singular timeline without a forking and branching. And, well, yeah, again, spoilers. This is basically this character, the variant. At first, my instinct was to say, okay, she's sending all of these reset bombs, these sort of quantum bombs. I thought she was teleporting all of them back to the TVA headquarters. Like she's about to just carpet bomb the headquarters here, and there's not going to be any more TVA, and you know, Mobius and Loki and all of their agents are just going to be stranded right here on this version of Earth that they're on. But somehow, as it turns out, we don't know exactly what it was she did yet, but she somehow forced this like an explosion of Nexus events is what we see on the monitor back at the headquarters. Is the guys are just freaking out like, what, get on the phone. We got a code red. Because we see it start to branch just, at will.
You mentioned Doctor Who, the Doctor Who Facebook page made a great meme about that. It shows all the branches happening, and then the next is Jodie Whittaker looking up at this. Looks like it's a job for you, Doctor.
Yeah.
Forget Loki and Morbius. Bring in the Doctor now.
Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff.
Yes, very. It's focusing on the wibbly wobbly part.
Yeah. And I think it's already safe for us to say that this is absolutely going to set up future films. Obviously, Doctor Strange and the Madness of the Multiverse.
Very likely.
I'm going to go ahead and
if these rumors are true about Spider-Man.
I'll just go ahead and go out and I'll throw $1 down that we'll probably see Loki pop up in that film. If I don't know if we know that yet or not, he may be a cameo, or who knows if he's even listed in the credits. On
the only thing we know is that he did not at any point go to Australia. He is not in. This will be the first Thor film without Loki.
Okay, well,
he is definitely not in Thor: Love and Thunder. I think that wrapped actually.
Okay, well, I was talking about Doctor Strange and the Madness of the Multiverse.
Yeah, I know. I was just saying the only thing we know about is that Tom Hiddleston at no point has been to Australia. So
okay,
and he said he's not in that one. So he could be in anything. I don't. Yeah, they got to keep. I was reading a really good article about how the MCU is reaching a point of I can't think of the word. They're in uncharted territory. There it is. They've lost Iron Man and Captain America. Well, Iron Man and Steve Rogers and there was one more. Anyway,
Black
they
Panther.
Managed to get it. Yeah, well, yeah.
Actually, that's not fair to say.
They're like they're trying to build this new universe with characters that now is really reaching into the stuff that only like diehard comic fans have heard of. I mean, you got Spider-Man, but Spider-Man's always tenuous because of Sony.
Well, it begs the question whether
now
or not
they're focusing on stuff like the Internals.
Yeah, well, I've mentioned
Strange
this before
and
with
Marvel are going to have to step up
with the multiverse stuff happening, and especially with a forthcoming Spider-Man film that is presumably, probably, possibly, put all these caveats in there, going to introduce a sort of multiverse aspect into the forthcoming Spider-Man film. Whether or not the MCU is going to choose to introduce Miles Morales into the MCU, who is basically another version of Spider-Man from another reality, right? From another parallel.
Alfred Molina has confirmed that he is playing the Sam Raimi version of Doc Ock. Whether they're
really makes me
de-aging
want to
him,
watch the Sam
he says
Raimi
it picks up
films.
after the end of Spider-Man 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is why the rumors of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield making an appearance are rampant, despite but every time you see Andrew Garfield's denial, he's laughing, so it's really hard to tell.
True.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
A lot of people are so certain about it, though, that they show up in the movie.
Actors have gotten really good at what's the word I'm looking for? Denial, plausibility, like deniable.
Except Tom Holland and the whole Mark Ruffalo. Mark Ruffalo literally pretty much spoiled the everyone dies in Infinity War thing, or almost everyone.
Sure.
So yeah, they're not good at it. Tom Holland's the worst for spoilers. They just don't tell him anything anymore now.
Right.
He doesn't know what's going on until he's on set.
I want to see what your take
back to
was.
Loki.
Yeah, on we've got this actress that I was convinced we had seen in a couple of other shows in the recent past. The actress's name is Sasha Lane. And in episode 2, we see her as part of the team at the Renaissance Fair that gets captured.
Oh, I forgot about the Ren Fair. That was great.
Right. And she gets taken, and then she turns up again, and she's kind of a babbling, she's kind of a mess, right? When they find her, she's mumbling something. And for the life of me, we backed it up and listened to it like 3 times, and I couldn't quite get a grasp on what she was talking about. I was curious if you had any
to see what someone else said. I didn't.
Yeah,
that whole episode washed over me. I need to rewatch it.
Yeah, this Sasha Lane. She was in the most recent Hellboy reboot. I think that's probably what I'm thinking of her in. Not as good as the first 2.
Yeah, that's kind of the impression I got. I don't know. I can't remember exactly what happened to her. She got.
Well, we didn't see what happened to her. The variant drags her off, takes her somewhere to do who knows
what. What's her character's name?
It's just like an agent name. Let's see.
Hunter or something.
Hunter C-20. Right? They're like stormtroopers.
Hunter C-20 say.
Let's
right. Just try Googling random things. Okay. Oh yeah, well, she does look familiar. Let's see.
It's got to play somehow into part of the variant's goal, the plan, whatever it is this variant is up to. And at this point, all we have to go on is the bomb.
She admitted to giving up the location of the timekeepers.
That's right.
But I think the big question is why this article seems to be on Screen Rant seems to be why did Lady Loki let her? They're calling her Lady Loki. We'll see how long that lasts. Let her live.
Right. Well, let me switch gears into one other aspect, at least from story and character development stuff that I want to dive in to. The fact that we get this sort of it's Law and Order, or maybe it's a CSI. There we go. CSI Asgard. CSI at the TVA, where suddenly Loki becomes, Detective Loki, where Mobius has basically just turned him loose. Go get the files, just read, figure it out. Right. He's getting Loki's help.
Oh, yes.
Under the assumption that Mobius is wanting to understand more about Loki. And I'm going to make another tinfoil hat prediction that possibly before the events of this show, Agent Mobius was privy to or had some insight into or possibly even experienced some kind of divergent timeline where maybe he saw a version of Loki that's very different either from the one that we know or one very different from this variant that they've been hunting. And it's possible that he's like, I'm going to throw into the ring here, right? I'm going to see if I can't tip, just covertly under the nose of the timekeepers, if I can make this a reality, right? I'm going to sort of borrow this variant that we captured out of his timeline, and now he's hanging out at TVA, and we're going to see if we can't create this better version of Loki, right, through doing this. And we see a lot of really poignant and significant development, I think, going on with Loki's character, which is that, historically he's the villain, right? He's the bad guy. And yet we see a lot of humanity, dare I say it, compassion and empathy and a lot of emotion coming from him, both in witnessing the death of his mother and then the destruction of Asgard. I mean, he actually sheds
he
a
saw
tear.
the destruction of Asgard. He would do his own death, I think, was the big thing that.
Right. Well, yeah. He witnessed the death of his mother in the hologram and his own death. But now in episode 2, he's reading through all these files looking for these apocalyptic events, right? Because they're hunting for the hidey hole that the variant has been running to. And he reads about the destruction of Asgard, about Ragnarok, in a case file, right? He doesn't see it in the hologram. He just reads about it and he kind of breaks down for a minute. Yeah. And it's very temporary, and he does a really good job of sort of putting his mask back on. Like, I don't care, I'm just Loki. But
actually, I read a really good analysis hypothesis that he is suddenly free when he sees Thanos, in essence, squeezing life out of him, and Thanos says, "You'll never be a god." Now Loki, they really focus on Loki. Kept saying, "I'm a god, I'm a god, I'm a god," and then he sees that he's like, "Oh, I'm not." So. Now he doesn't feel like he has to do he no longer has his life quest because he's not a god. He's just an Asgardian.
According to Thanos.
Well, Thanos said, "You're not a god," then killed him. So
Sure.
Thanos is a god. Like literally, he's one of the, like one of the Eternals, right?
Titan. Yeah. One of the Eternals. Yeah. Well, he's a deviant. And we're gonna get more of that when we actually see the film. So again, my tinfoil hat prediction.
That's a bummer.
My tinfoil hat prediction there is that could be way off base. Again, I'm just taking shots here. That Agent Mobius was perhaps he's got a plan. There's something he's keeping real close to the vest, right? Something he's trying to do kind of covertly here with this our version of Loki. Right?
Yep.
And trying to turn him into a hero or using him, perhaps, regardless of what maybe he doesn't care actually about Loki. He's just got an agenda, right? That's something that he's up to. What
if he's what if his purpose is to bring back a true multiverse?
Yeah. I don't know.
Split universes.
What if he's working somehow with the variant?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, and now apparently all of the new Marvel shows are going to release on Wednesday. And I can see why, because Loki was their biggest debut of a show. It beat WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So
I did not know that.
Yeah. Yeah, they released their numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to suck at Warner Brothers every episode. Every episode, Warner Brothers, we're coming for you. I'm ready for to see where this goes now. Because usually with their series, I've noticed episode 3 it's almost like a Game of Thrones plan. Game of Thrones had the penultimate episode of a Game of Thrones season was always going to be the big battle. And then the last episode kind of just was the epilogue, right? Mm-hmm. Except for season 4, when the last episode was, hey, this is already spoilers, when they stabbed Jon Snow to death.
That's right.
In the season. So, I seem to remember episode 3 is when it really starts going for these things. So I'm ready for that. And then I guess, A couple other things they got. I've seen, just to wrap up, I thought we might very briefly mention that they are writing Mandalorian season 3 now, working the showrunners working on that. So that's happening. I'm going to be really interested in that one. But in the meantime, one of my favorite actors, Aquaman's dad / Boba Fett, and I'm not even going to try the man's name. Yeah, so the Book of Boba Fett looks like it's going to be really interesting. We have, let's see, I loved the scene where he, at the end of Mandalorian, where he went in and killed Bib Fortuna, who had taken over for Jabba. So yeah, those are the other things in our Disney universe that are happening.
I'm impressed that you remember the name of that character.
Bib
I
Fortuna,
knew it as soon
I
as
had
you
the
said
toy.
it. But yeah, probably. That's how you
I like
knew the
how he
names
got
of
all.
most
I think
of
it was
characters.
the same actor too. It was the same actor they brought back, and then he's like all happy to see Boba Fett. I don't know why anyone will be happy to see Boba Fett. Clearly, if you're
Fortuna,
seeing Boba Fett, you're probably dead.
Yeah, Bib Fortuna, IG-88, Bosk. Right, these are characters we knew the names of because we bought the action figure.
I can't remember if it's Mandalorian or Book of Boba Fett, or the Book of Fett or whatever it's called. Bosk is going to be in one of those.
Nice.
Yeah, they're bringing him back now, so that's going to be cool.
Well,
so any predictions for the next Loki?
I think it's really, really difficult to make a prediction with a show that, especially the cliffhanger there at the end of this previous episode. Wow. Who knows what we're going to say? They're going to go sort of zipping through different timelines. Are we going to see some kind of craziness start to happen? Who knows if they'll keep it more grounded? They'll rush back to the TVA and do a bunch of damage control for an episode. Or I think we'll see Loki have some sort of existential crisis. Right? It's something like, who is this person? Is that me? How is that me? I'm not a woman. Is she, right? And start, who knows? At the TVA, is there some monitor he can cue into and start flipping through, seeing video and holograms of other timelines?
Now they're going to be going to other timelines and trying to fix them. And that's where we're going to see the Loki as president. And we're going to see additional Lokis now because now there's going to be tons of variants.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting. There's going to be a lot of Tom Hiddleston happening. Now the question it'll be interesting to see is, so if there's variants, two things. Big Easter egg. The Infinity Stones, I think, confirms something that we've talked about in previous episodes. The Infinity Stones only work in their own universe.
Correct. Yeah.
And the TVA is obviously in some sort of pocket universe of its own.
Yep.
Kind of like a giant TARDIS city. So, although I shouldn't say giant because the TARDIS is apparently infinitely big. You can just keep going and going and going. Yeah, it's supposed to be massive on the inside.
Well, I know that. Yeah. It's got, it's basically like a large building on the inside, like an office building.
I think it's
many stories. I don't know if it's infinite. Somebody will correct some real hardcore.
There was that one episode where they had the chase in it, and
they got lost.
It kept changing and stuff. I think that was the.
Well, the TARDIS can change. It's alive. It's kind of an organic machine, and it can change its appearance. It can change the floor plan and the structure and create rooms and things as needed. But I definitely remember an episode of Doctor Who. I don't know if it was the more recent era or the previous area where they got lost in the TARDIS and thought they were going to die. We're going to die of dehydration. We're going to starve to death, hanging out here in the TARDIS and can't find our way back to the control room.
I think it's somewhere on the inside. It's somewhere in size between I swear they said it's infinitely large on the inside. It can be any size.
And there are multiple control rooms. I know that there's at least 2. Yep. There's a backup one, the old one. Anyway, so we are bouncing all over the place now. Lots of good stuff to look forward to, and really excited about Loki. So far as right on par with the other MCU shows. They do not let up. They're making
a lot of
great content.
It's going to be interesting to see how DC's own multiverse responds, since DC technically had the multiverse idea long before Marvel was going to do it. With actually, I read that Snyder always intended after Justice League to have a Flashpoint type reset. So
Okay.
he could tell his story and then reset the universe for everyone else. So we'll see how that's going to go. We're getting fed a lot of multiverse in our comic book movies the next few years. So let's, I think WandaVision to this is definitely all leading straight into Doctor Strange. So I'm excited. Getting more. I'm probably more hyped for Doctor Strange than any other Marvel movie,
without a doubt. I'll continue to hold out for a Miles Morales Spider-Man. I'll continue to hold out for a.
Well, you always got into the multiverse for that, and
I'm going to continue to hold out for him.
Another one of those.
I'm going to continue to hold out for some integration of the mutant verse and the X-Men into the MCU.
This could have done it.
Yeah, I just
when
out of everything, that has gone on with the licensing and the rights agreements and Paramount, Universal Studios, and Marvel, Disney, and everyone. I just, God, it would.
Sony's the one sticking point.
Sony.
Marvel now owns everything except for the Spider-Verse.
Okay. And
so
do we know anything
Morbius,
about contractually,
Venom,
like how many films they're contractually sort of locked in for, and what the kind of what the lifespan of that is?
The previous deal that they made after that very contentious, like there's not going to be any more Spider-Man thing, was for 2 appearances for Tom Holland's Spider-Man, one of which is going to be the solo movie and other TBA. So,
yeah.
And then after that, they would have to renegotiate again. But you know what? I feel like Sony's movies have been gotten some extra views from their association with Marvel, because there's always fans' headcanon, and in their headcanon they can say, yeah, Venom totally exists in the MCU, even though it may not, obviously. Right. It probably doesn't.
Yeah. When is that sequel due out? Just wrapping up talking about Venom here.
Well, they had a trailer, so it's got to be within the next year.
It was supposed to be due out 2021. Is that right? Is it gonna arrive before the end of this year?
I don't know. Is your Google foo faster than mine?
Well, I'm just on IMDb. Let's just look
see.
at
That's
Tom
September
Holland.
24.
Let's see. This year?
This year.
Oh, okay. Now,
I should probably watch the first one.
I think you've mentioned this in the past, and I'll say the same. The first one, I think, got mixed reviews. I thought it was fun. I thought it was entertaining.
As the people that watched it liked it.
It's kind of a
I was
very
going to wonder.
mild horror anti-hero, right, kind of film is going to be. Obviously, we had Venom in the third of the Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire, James Franco.
Yes, that was something else, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that Spider-Man
okay.
3.
Was that
Venom
Grace,
has
right?
a very wide.
Grace.
And this is the reason Rotten Tomatoes, I never look at the tomato meter. It's 29% from critics, but the audience loved it. The audience gave it 81%.
Yeah, you have to look at the audience reviews, especially for action and sci-fi and comic films, and
I mean, unless it's female led, in which case the incels will spam negative reviews, i.e., Captain Marvel.
I just realized that the title of the next of the Venom sequel is "Let There Be Carnage." So clearly, someone's going to play
the trailer, right?
Cletus Cassidy. Apparently, I haven't. Oh, Woody Harrelson. I knew that is playing Cletus Cassidy. Who is
they show Carnage in the new trailer. You should watch the new trailer.
I'll be watching that as soon as we get off this call. All right, folks. Kind of short and sweet. We promise. We didn't lie. We're not pulling a fast one on you. We're going to do a Watchmen book club combo with the book club and the film, sort of another Zack Snyder feature, and maybe we can plan to do that in the next 10 to 14 days. Yeah.
Maybe we should do it on a...
We'll see.
That might be a good one if we have a free evening.
Got a long holiday weekend coming up with 4th of July.
Have a drink. Yeah, have a drink. Talk some Watchmen.
Okay.
That seems more a adult beverage than coffee conversation.
Right. And so also coming up in July, maybe we'll just wrap up with this. I already have my tickets for Black Widow. I'm sure we'll be devoting a little chunk of time to breaking that down after it releases.
Definitely.
Maybe we'll do a spoiler-free mention, in the first weekend that it's out, and then we'll wait to give.
I've been hearing good things about Florence Pugh's character in it. That she may be our new Black Widow type character going forward.
Yelena Belova, something like that. She's the another Red Room graduate. She's another Soviet spy that are maybe they're sisters, maybe they're not blood sisters, blood related,
right?
Maybe they're just very close.
Yeah, well, they consider themselves a family, but yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. And
all right.
And that's it for this week. Like, subscribe, tell all your friends, and
don't be a variant.
Then like and subscribe. Make another Google account and like and subscribe again.
Don't be a variant. You may have been a variant and you wouldn't know because the TVA has already shown up and nuked that Nexus event. So just don't. All right.
Have a good one.